Tommy was a long-haul trucker, driving mostly across lonely highways of the American Midwest. One night, around 2:30 a.m., he was on a dark stretch of Route 666, a road many truckers refuse to use after midnight. The night was cold, the sky black, and his only companion was static from the radio. Then, just beyond the curve of a hill, his headlights caught a figure standing by the roadside. A young woman, pale, still, wearing a white dress soaked in something dark. She raised her thumb to hitchhike. Tommy hesitated. Every instinct told him don't stop. But he thought, what if she's hurt? He pulled over. She climbed in silently and sat stiffly, her face hidden under long black hair. "You okay?" Tommy asked. She whispered, "Drive." As he started moving, the air inside the cab grew cold, like winter was inside his truck. The woman didn't speak. After a few miles, he finally looked at her in the mirror. That's when he saw her eyes. They were all black, no whites, no pupils, just endless black, like the sky before a tornado. She smiled, revealing broken teeth, and whispered, "You're driving into the dark. You won't leave." Suddenly, his headlights failed. The road disappeared. The truck's engine died. Everything went black. Tommy woke up hours later, parked on the side of the road. The cab was empty. His clock blinked, 3:33 a.m. He looked around. On the windshield, written in bloody handprints, were the words, "Thank you for the ride. I'll see you again." Since that night, Tommy says he sees her in his mirrors, just for a second, on dark roads. Always watching, always waiting. Part 2. Haunted Miles. After that night, Tommy tried to forget. He quit driving Route 666. He added dream catchers, crosses, and even salt lines to his truck. But the nightmares didn't stop. Every few nights, he'd wake up gasping for air, hearing the sound of heels clicking across his cab floor, even when parked. One night in Arizona, at a lonely truck stop, Tommy parked and went to sleep in his bunk. Around 2 a.m., he heard someone knocking on the passenger door. Tap, tap, tap. He sat up. No one should be out there in the middle of the desert. He peeked through the curtain. There she was. The same woman. Black eyes, white dress, covered in dirt. Standing still, just staring into the window. Smiling. He grabbed the keys and tried to start the truck. The engine wouldn't start. Suddenly, his CB radio turned on by itself. A voice crackled through. "Why'd you leave me? I wasn't done riding." Then, slam, she was gone, just vanished. Tommy finally got the engine running and tore out of the parking lot. He didn't stop until sunrise, but it didn't end there. Now, every time he drives alone at night, she comes back. Sometimes she's walking by the side of the road. Sometimes he sees her in the back seat in the rearview mirror. Once, he woke up while parked to find her sitting on the dashboard, inches from his face. Tommy doesn't tell people anymore. They call him crazy. But he knows the truth. She didn't want a ride. She wanted a soul. And sooner or later, she's going to get back in. Part 3. She came home after months of haunting. Tommy gave up trucking. He sold his rig, moved to a small cabin deep in the woods of West Virginia, and tried to live a quiet life. He thought she was tied to the road. He thought he was safe. But the first night in the cabin, she came back. It started with the smell, burnt rubber and rotting flowers. Then came the flickering lights, even though the power was fine. And then, just like always, the knock. Tap, tap, tap. This time it came from inside the house. Tommy grabbed his shotgun and moved slowly through the dark hallway. His flashlight died suddenly. He froze. A whisper came from the shadows. "I found you." Then she stepped out, her white dress torn, her black eyes glowing in the dark. She was taller now, her fingers longer, twisted, crawling instead of walking. Tommy fired. The blast echoed through the cabin. But when the smoke cleared, she was gone. Only one thing remained, a bloody handprint on the floor, dragging toward his bedroom. That night, he didn't sleep. The next morning, the local sheriff came after a neighbor reported gunshots. Tommy tried to explain, but the sheriff just said, "You're not the first one." That hitchhiker, folks say she's the ghost of a witch cursed on Route 666 after her death in 1966. She rides with men, then drags their souls off the road. The sheriff paused. 3 other drivers saw her. All of them disappeared. You may be the last. Now, every time Tommy closes his eyes, he hears her voice. "You drove me once. Now I drive you." And sometimes when he looks into the bathroom mirror, she's driving and he's not behind the wheel anymore.
The man in the median. I've been driving trucks for over 20 years. Hauled loads from Seattle to Miami, braved whiteouts in the Rockies, even dodged tornadoes in Kansas. I've seen some wild stuff, but nothing, and I mean nothing, has ever stayed with me the way that night on I-40 did. It was a cold November evening. I was hauling a refrigerated trailer full of beef from Amarillo to Little Rock. Snow hadn't started yet, but the wind had teeth, slicing across the highway and pushing my rig like it wanted to flip me. Traffic had thinned out past Oklahoma City, and by 2 a.m., it was just me, the road, and the low hum of my CB crackling to static. I'd had a coffee at a truck stop a few miles back, but my eyes were heavy. Just needed to make it to a rest area up ahead. 30 more miles, I could do that. Then I saw him. At first I thought it was an animal, something moving in the median between the east and westbound lanes. But as I got closer, my headlights caught the shape of a man, standing perfectly still in the snow-dusted grass between the lanes. No coat, just a white shirt and dark jeans, and this is the part that made my skin crawl. His head was tilted way too far to the side, like he'd broken his neck and was just standing there. I slowed down. My first thought was he'd been in a wreck. Maybe a drunk driver wandered out of his crashed car. But there was no vehicle nearby, just him, staring with a face I swear was pale as moonlight. I passed him, heart hammering, and checked my mirrors. He didn't move, just kept standing there, still as stone, watching my rig roll by. I grabbed the CB and called out to anyone nearby. "This is Big Mike on eastbound 40. Anyone else see the guy in the median near mile marker 212? Silence, then crackling. "Yeah, I saw him." Another voice. "He's back again?" I blinked. "Back again?" The voice returned. Old-timer, gravelly voice. "Yeah, that fella's been showing up every now and then. Always the same spot. Ain't no town near there. Cops went looking once. Nothing. No prints. No tracks in the snow. But drivers keep seeing him. Been happening for years." I don't know why, but my blood ran cold. I looked in the mirror again. Still nothing but darkness behind me. About 10 miles later, I started hearing this faint tap, tap, tap from the passenger side door, like fingers drumming against the window. I glanced over. Nothing. Just the dark. I told myself it was the wind. Just the wind. Then the radio buzzed again. "You still seeing him, Big Mike?" I grabbed the CB, voice shaking. Number, just the tapping. Another silence. Then, "Don't stop, no matter what." I felt sweat on my palms, despite the cold. The tapping got louder. I finally pulled into the rest area, practically skidding into a spot. I parked under the lights, engine humming. The tapping stopped. I jumped out, flashlight in hand, walked around the rig. Nothing, not a soul in sight, just the sound of wind and my own heartbeat in my ears. I climbed back in, locked the doors, and tried to sleep in the bunk. But I swear, just as I started drifting off, I felt the trailer shift, like something climbed in. I sat up fast, heart pounding. Nothing in the cab, but the air felt wrong, cold, like I'd left the door open. I checked, still locked. That morning, I drove out fast, not stopping until I hit Little Rock. When I dropped the trailer, I looked inside. Everything was as it should be, but right there, on the inside of the trailer door, was a single bloody handprint. Small, pale, like a child's. I never took that route again. To this day, I don't know who or what I saw, but every time I drive past an empty stretch of road late at night, I glance at the median, just in case he's there again. thunder cracked. Rain came hard and fast, blinding sheets that turned the road into a mirror. I slowed to a crawl, hazard lights blinking, windshield wipers working overtime. That's when I saw him again. But this time, he wasn't in the median. He was walking along the shoulder, same white shirt, soaked through and clinging to his skin. Same unnatural neck angle, like his head was hanging on a thread. But this time, his thumb was out. Hitchhiking. I froze. My foot hovered over the brake. Every instinct screamed to keep going, but something stronger, something wrong.
At me. I stopped. The passenger door creaked open. I hadn't unlocked it, hadn't even touched the switch, but it opened. Slow. He climbed in, didn't say a word, just sat there, rainwater pooling at his feet. I couldn't look directly at him. My eyes kept sliding away, like my brain refused to process what it was seeing. Then, in the dim light of the dash, I noticed something chilling. His feet weren't touching the floor. He hovered, just an inch, but enough. Enough to know this thing sitting beside me wasn't alive. Still, I drove. For miles, we sat in silence. Then, in a voice that sounded like static and broken glass, he said, "You left me there, Mike." My hands clenched the wheel. I hadn't told him my name. "You stopped for sleep." I climbed in. I looked at him now, really looked. His eyes were gone, just dark, empty sockets, leaking black tears that stained his cheeks. His mouth never moved when he spoke. It echoed from inside my head. "You were supposed to take me farther." "But you left." I slammed the brakes. The truck skidded, fishtailing slightly before I regained control. I turned to him, heart racing. He was gone. The seat was empty, but the door still wide open. I climbed out with a flashlight. Rain had stopped. The road was quiet, but behind the truck, standing in the middle of the wet highway, was the man, soaked, staring, and smiling. I jumped back in, locked the doors, and gunned it east. Didn't sleep until I hit Tennessee. Told the company I wouldn't finish the run. Let them fire me if they wanted. But they didn't. Turns out I wasn't the first to quit that route. I wasn't even the third. They knew. Now I drive local only. No night shifts, no highways near I-40. And every so often, when I'm parked and the CB's quiet, I hear static again. Sometimes a whisper follows. "You owe me a ride, Mike." Part 3. Mile marker 0. I thought I was done with him. Changed jobs, moved out east. Did local deliveries in broad daylight. No more night hauls, no more empty roads, no more ghosts. But some things don't care how far you run. It started with dreams. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, hearing tapping on my bedroom window, even on the second floor. I'd look out, but there'd be nothing, just shadows and trees. Then came the voices. My CB would buzz on by itself. No power, no signal, just hiss. Then that voice, his voice, would come through. "Still waiting, Mike." Then one night I got a knock at the door. It was Hank, old friend. Still ran OTR routes out west. He looked pale, shaken. "Mike, I saw him." I didn't have to ask who. Hank said the man stepped into the road near mile marker 0 in Barstow, California, far west end of I-40. Said he nearly ran him over, but when he got out, the man was gone. No footprints, nothing. That made me pause. The first time I saw him, mile marker 212 in Oklahoma, then 178, then 93. He was moving. Slowly, west, always showing up farther down the line, chasing me. I didn't know why, until I remembered what happened the night before I saw him the first time. I was driving, late, tired as hell. Somewhere in Texas, rainy night. A blur ran out in front of me. I hit the brakes hard, thought I hit a deer, but I never checked. I kept driving. I never checked. Suddenly, it all made sense. He wasn't just a ghost. He was mine, a life I took, a soul I left behind. So I made a decision. I packed up, got my old rig back, and took one last run west. Told dispatch I'd haul an empty trailer to Barstow, mile marker 0. I drove all night, alone. The road stretched long and black beneath me. No music, no CB, just me and the hum of tires on asphalt. Then, 20 miles out, the radio crackled. "Almost there, Mike." At 10 miles, my headlights flickered. At 5, the air turned cold. Then, at mile marker 0, he was there, standing in the middle of the road. I stopped the truck and stepped out. No flashlight, no fear, just guilt. He stared, that broken neck still dangling, black eyes empty as the sky. "I remember now?" I said. He nodded. I opened the back of the trailer, climbed in. He followed. The door slammed shut behind us, and the night was still. They found my rig a day later, idling on the shoulder, empty. No sign of me. Just one thing left behind. On the inside of the trailer door, scrawled in dust, "Ride complete.